Hi guys, for the next couple minutes I'm going to talk to you about my philosophy for teaching social studies and also just my teaching philosophy in general as well. So in the social studies curriculum document, the connecting the pieces little diagram is really cool. It talks about the goals and vision and how the curriculum comes into play, and hopefully the product will be this responsible and active citizen. So it's our job as future teachers to implement this curriculum using that goal and vision of the Ontario curriculum document, which I'm going to go into a little bit of detail now and how I'll bring that into my future classroom. So in the document, the vision kind of states that the program will enable students to become critically thoughtful and informed citizens who value an inclusive society. Students will have the skills they need to solve problems and communicate ideas and decisions about significant developments, events, and issues. And then the goals kind of state that students will develop the ability to use the concepts of disciplinary thinking to investigate issues, events, and developments. So I think the critical aspect about that, the critically thinking part, something that really stuck out to me as of importance. So students are critically thinking about and analyzing content in a meaningful way. So they're not just taking it at face value, but they're actually connecting it to their outside life and connecting it to their own experiences in the past or currently experiences they are going through. So I think that's a really important spot for us to focus in on, is how we can make that content and the curriculum interesting to the students. And I really think we can do that by connecting it to their own lives, so they feel more informed about their own lives, and then just so they have a better understanding of the content at hand. So through the social studies program, students are developing a sense of who they are personally and collectively as a society. So they kind of talk about where they come from, what makes them belong, where they are now, and how they can contribute to society. So these are four really good starting points, I think, for us, and points to refer to as we continue throughout the year in our teaching, how we can implement these different questions into the curriculum will really help it hit home for them. So I really think a huge part in the social studies program is the inquiry process. So through this, the students are developing skills that assist in their research, their ability to investigate and communicate their findings. Through the inquiry process, students develop skills that they need in order to think critically, solve problems, make informed decisions and judgments, and communicate their ideas. So the three ideas I'm going to kind of hone in on, the three questions, are talking about the instructional approaches, teaching cross-curricularly, and an end-of-the-year project that I think will be really beneficial to my students. My focus is kind of in this is on a grade 2 level, but all of my ideas I really think can be transferred to all the primary and junior grades as well. In the curriculum document, there's a huge focus on community, respect, identity, and relationships. So that can all start from the attitude you bring into your classroom at the beginning of the day. This is going to start every day off right, bringing a smile in, making sure the kids feel valued in your class, feel welcomed, and making sure they're ready to learn for the day. So I think that's a huge thing that you can start right in September, but that continues on throughout the rest of the year as well. So you want to create a safe and comfortable environment, classroom, like a judgment-free zone, allow students to speak freely and really encourage them to speak freely, but in a respectful way as well. And if they're not sure about something and maybe are unaware of how to approach it, then really encourage them to approach it maybe in an appropriate way and in a way that isn't going to hurt anyone's feelings. And if they have questions about things, definitely encourage them to ask you maybe first if they're not sure about asking the rest of the class as well. There's a huge also focus on supporting students' well-being, so this really ties into the whole mental health aspect. I know it's a huge push right now, making sure everyone is mentally stable, healthy in the classroom, and if they're not mentally well, they are not going to be able to be able to learn in that classroom, right? If they don't feel comfortable, if they are worried coming into the class, they're not in the headspace to learn, and obviously that's going to be a huge hindrance on their success in the classroom, not only in social studies but all subjects as well. So our job as educators is to create that warm environment. Some ways that I could do that, I think by physically making it, aesthetically appealing, having maybe couches the kids can sit on when they're doing readings or little partner work, providing even little mats or cushions they can take. And if they take them out of a cupboard, let's say, and they can go sit on the floor somewhere comfortable, make them feel kind of more at home, comfortable learning environment. Obviously soft lights, I think that's really cool, to have maybe turning off the overhead lights and just having some lamps on just to make it more natural, or even the natural light coming in through the window just makes it feel maybe a little bit more calm in the class. In the younger grades, but you can also have it in junior grades as well, having a carpeted area where you can all come back to, share your thoughts and ideas, your research findings, all that stuff. Just another kind of comfortable area for the kids to connect on. Showing the students that you really appreciate the hard work they do by showing it, maybe presenting it up on the walls, having it up on the board so they feel like they're appreciated and they've tried really hard. Another thing, encourage the students to find connections, right? So between each other, the connections between their work and their own life, their findings in readings or in the projects they do, really encourage them to connect that to their outside life as well. So I think social studies is one of those really cool subjects where you can tie in a lot of other subject areas as well. So thinking cross-curricularly, obviously you're bringing in literacy through the readings that they're doing, maybe readings online, research, also writing is a huge component, right, throughout all the subjects, but especially in social studies as well. They're writing about their findings, they're writing about what they're learning in the social studies curriculum. But I also think it would be cool to use cross-curricular connections through the arts as well. So if you're having, let's say, the students are going to research something, maybe have them, allow them the opportunity to present that information in a unique way. So maybe through a dance, piece of music like a song, if they feel comfortable painting, or even through a drama if they want to work in groups or pairs and do some kind of act or skit to act out what they found. So obviously it depends on what the assignment at hand is, but just encourage them to use those different outlets, and I think allowing them the choice to choose what they're more comfortable with and how to present that information is really cool as well. They can kind of work on their strengths and see how other people, peers in their class, interpret that information as well through the different outlets. I think when we are able to cross over the curriculums and the subject areas really allows the students to see the bigger picture as well and make those connections into other parts of their life. So they don't see each subject as being separate, but there's more fluidity in the day, more fluidity through social studies, to the arts, to language, and what have you, and how they can all connect it. If they can connect it to those other subjects, I think then they're more likely to connect that information to their outside world as well. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of a year-end or final project. I really like the idea of having a Genius Hour, or the 20% project, where you're taking a part of every day to work on this project. And I think the Genius Hour is a really cool idea to bring into social studies because they can connect it in so many different ways. It also allows students to hone in on something they're very interested in. So obviously you'd have some regulations for the Genius Hour project. It would need to be probably something that you've kind of taught them about previously throughout the year, but something that maybe sparks some interest, or if they have another topic but can connect it to curriculum that you've taught them in social studies, that could probably work as well. So this allows them to work on their presentation skills. They're talking in front of the class. It allows them to focus in on their independence, and also their research skills. So they're finding that information on their own with, you know, little help from us as the educator, or we can also scaffold their learning however much that student may need. It's also self-guided, which I said, you know, makes them feel more independent, and also it allows the kids to learn about different subject areas that they maybe don't know too much information about, right? So if you have them present their Genius Hour project to the class, the kids are learning so much more about something, which may spark some interest in the students and encourage them to go and do further research on that certain area of interest that they haven't thought about before. So yeah, they use these skills through research, through presentation, through looking more in-depthly at certain topics, and then they can take those skills and move forward with them and use them in their future years of education.